of the evening, it's all about me, the narcissist. Yes, I am so proud, by the way, to belong to an organization that claims to smell its own farts. Yes, I will admit, sometimes I actually do smell my own farts. I get curious. Don't act like you don't do it too. See? You just let them slip out and then you smell them and you're like, what was that? Did I eat cheese? Or maybe a small child. So, let's talk about Utah. I recently went on vacation to Las Vegas. All was going well with the exception of snow in the desert in New Mexico and Arizona. By the way, those people need it more often because they do not know how to drive through it. There is nothing that will give you road rage at 1 o'clock in the morning like people that don't know how to drive through snow. Alright, I would pass them going 50, they would cuss me out and then fall in the ditch. We had a good time in Las Vegas, we donated our money to the casinos, we passed a few people passing out stripper cards, they were Mexican. Yes, Matt Sanchez would know all about that. We got a few fun propositions. There was one guy that came up to us as we were walking and was like, hey, you guys into gay sex? And immediately we all screamed, no! But in my mind I was thinking, maybe. I wanted to see where this man was going. Actually, part of me wanted to say, she is! But I didn't feel like throwing my friend under the bus. Plus, she's a lesbian. I would know, because she resisted this all week. So anyway, we had our fun in Las Vegas, and then we started to head home, and lo and behold, we get to Utah, Mormon country. Rocks, rocks, and bigger rocks! I swear to God, Utah hoards all the freaking rocks! And we go in, everything's fine and dandy, we buy our water, we urinate. And then we come back outside, and apparently my car decided to have the same idea. We look on the ground, and antifreeze is everywhere. Horrible! I was like, okay, a little backstory. My car did this about a month ago, too, and we thought we had the problem fixed. Apparently not. I fired that mechanic when we got back. So we are sitting here stranded trying to figure out what to do because I can't drive because my car will overheat if I keep driving. So we have these like nice pedestrian people coming in. They're like, oh, we'll help you. And they're like looking at the engine and they're like, oh, you got something to do with pressure. I don't know engines. It was all just blah, 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 engine. I couldn't understand it. But anyway, we had one guy, Cowboy Tom. Such a sweet man. So sweet. He had a gun. He was like, oh, this is wrong with your engine. And I was like, don't talk to me. Talk to my dad on my cell phone. He knows this stuff. And so he told him what was wrong. And we got the problem figured out. We put antifreeze in it. We called a tow truck. He helped us with that. And then he was like, hey, while you're waiting, why don't you can come back and chill at my place. Drink a few beers. I can show you some sights. Because we all know sights are the first thing on our mind when our car's broken down. So I'm standing here thinking, you seem nice, but I'm pretty sure you want to kill or rape us, and not necessarily in that order. So me and my friends were just like, no, we don't really want to leave the car. We're just going to stay here. Thank you, Cowboy Tom. He's like, no, come back. Come drink some beers with us. I don't really want to. Thank you, Tom. Well, we'll hook you up with this hotel. I got a hotel room. They give me a special deal on there so often, and I want to know why. I was too afraid to ask. But I was like, okay, that's nice. Just we'll call you. Give me your number. If we need anything, we'll call you. So we got the tow truck. Got pulled into Cedar City, Utah. Not much to look at. More rocks. So we ended up thinking we got the car fixed and we started driving. It's still not fixed, so we have to stay. Yippee. We stayed at a Motel 6, such a classy So we're staying there, and again, Katie's refusing me. We slept in the same bed. She resisted all of this. And we get up the next day, and we try and drive a little bit. So we meet my mom and my stepdad that came out to help us. And like, we finally get it fixed. 24 hours later, we're out of Utah. And I started to cry. And not out of joy, but out of tears of sadness, because there's more fucking rocks in Colorado. The only difference is they're the Brokeback Mountain kind of rocks. Variety. And I'm driving, and I'm like, oh, more friggin' rocks. And Katie's like, oh, but each rock has its own story. I'm like, really, what's that one saying? An Indian got raped 100 years ago. Cowboy Tom killed a college student there. So that was a hell of a trip. Questions for the guys in the audience. Okay. When you're standing at the urinal, do you ever lose track of time? I do it all the damn time, especially in bars. Like, I'll go and I'll just be peeing, doing my business, and then I'll just start reading all the stuff on the wall. Like, call Pam for a good time. Oh, there we go. Call Cowboy Tom. That's when you get scared. Don't ever call Cowboy Tom. Good laugh. I just get distracted, and then there's those times whenever you have to poop. I really lose track of time, but there's something about somebody walking into a bathroom while you're pooping to just make you clinch. Like, I have a problem pooping in public. I do. I get so self-conscious, so I do that kind of thing where you just like, you try and let out a little bit at a time, because you know there's somebody there, but you want to be as quiet as possible. You all are so immature, you're laughing at poop. I love stand-up comedy, and I really want it to be a job one day. It's a lot of fun. I've had a few other fun jobs. I worked at Worlds of Fun. I'm sure most of you know that, except for the people from the imaginary state of Nebraska. Oh, there she goes. Anyway, I worked in ride photos at Worlds of Fun. And what I got to do was I got to stand there for 8 hours a day and watch women flash the camera. Dream job! Especially for a 16-year-old boy. And the thing is that we would have to like block out those pictures, of course, because I mean it's a family park. So I'd block out the picture, and then I'd get these girls coming down, and they'd be like, "Hey, where's my picture?" And I was like, "Well, I can't show it to you. You flash the camera." Well, did you see it? Oh, yeah. Bravo. Or sometimes I'd like screw with them and be like, oh, I must have missed you. You want to go around and do it again? Do the same thing. And we'll see if it shows up this time. I kid you not, I got a girl to do that 3 times. And then we'd get it was very sad. We get the older women that would try it, the cougars. They would get on there and flash the camera, and I'm just like, roll it up, Grandma. Put a leash on the dogs. Not pretty. Every now and then they'd have me go over to Oceans of Fun, to that little shithole shack at the front that you have to walk through. That everything's so overpriced. It's like a bikini for $100. You're paying $100 for like 4 inches of cloth. And so I would have to stand there and watch and make sure nobody stole anything. Well, there's like counter displays up to here, so I can't really see around them. Whenever you're checking out, you're pretty much just like checking out to a voice. I don't know if you've given me your money or not. But I'd have to watch for people stealing, and then I'd also have to check the dressing rooms, because teenagers like to go in and have a little extra fun. And something about checking those dressing rooms just made me seem like somebody's bratty kid sister, you know, like, excuse me, are you guys fucking in there? This is who I'm telling. Excuse me, are you guys shooting up in there? You're in big trouble. Going to the doctor, let's talk about that. Something about going to the doctor and having them tell you, get on the scale. It just turns me into this 10-year-old child. I'm like, no! You get on the scale. You're fat. Every time you go, if you're a little bit, just the slightest bit overweight, they're like, oh, you should probably lose some weight. They do that whole stomach pat, and I'm like, don't touch me. Bite your hand off. Like, they just find every way to piss you off, because they will point out every freaking flaw you have. Like, oh, you got a freckle there, it might be cancer. And then you turn into this pessimist for the next 2 weeks waiting on a friggin' result to see whether or not it's cancer or just a friggin' sunspot. And it's a sunspot. And I'm convinced that all doctors are sadists. They just love to cause pain, especially mine. Every time I go in there, she's like, oh, we could give you a shot. I like giving shots, especially the ones with the long needles. I'm just like, oh! I'm like moving out, so that means I'm losing another roommate. Oh, roommates, you gotta love them. No, you don't. Oh God, roommates. I have had some pretty interesting roommates in the past 4, maybe 5 years, and not one of them seems to know how to clean. Not one! I had a house 2 years ago, and all of those roommates, none of them knew how to load a dishwasher, sweep, or mop, or anything. And then I'd be sitting in the living room listening to them argue about who cleaned last week. And they're like, oh, I cleaned. No, I cleaned. No, I fucking did. That's who cleaned. And then the one roommate I had that actually tried to clean, he couldn't fucking load a dishwasher to save his life. He would just go, oh, this is going here, this is going here. Oh, these 2 plates, I'll stick them together so it'll save space. Well, guess what? It doesn't fucking clean it. So then you're like, prying them apart with a spatula. And then there's dishes piled up in the sink because nobody's emptied the dishwasher to load those. So they've been sitting in cancer water for a week. So you try and wash these other 2 plates, and then by the time you get done, you have holes in the gloves you were using, and you have cancer, and your roommates have to cover your rent. It's horrible. And then recently, my recent roommate, Lizzie, most of you know her, she is obsessed with Project Runway. Hate that show, but she is obsessed with it. And for about a month, I thought she had this secret boyfriend named Mondo. I would be sitting in my room, and she wouldn't know I'm home, by the way, and she would just scream, oh! And I was like, I'm afraid to go out there. I don't know what she's doing. That's my couch. And so I would hear this every now and then, and like, it's seriously, every time she watches, I swear to God, she orgasms, because she's like, oh! Like, I was like, oh my God! I will hear that repeatedly, and I'm scared to death to go out there just to find her, like, naked, because that's not a sight anybody wants to see. I'm just kidding. She's okay. Anyway. Finally, I find out Mondo's part of Project Runway, and she's still single, and I laugh at her. Oh, and sex. I have had to deal with people having sex in every place. Like, I don't get laid a lot, I won't lie, but there's so much sex that happens around me. One night at that house, I'm pretty sure I had sex from all 3 sides. I would hear moaning from this room, moaning from up there, and moaning from somebody's kid brother in the next room. He didn't even live in the house. And that was so depressing. And then in the care apartment I'm in, I had to deal with the person upstairs. Fun story, his nickname is the Hurricane. When I found that out, I had to cover my mouth and try not to laugh, because all I hear is for about 5 minutes, which is a little bit sad, actually. And I really felt sorry for his girlfriend. I felt like calling the abuse hotline. But it would only last for 5 minutes or less every time, and then he told me his name was the Hurricane, and I just wanted to be like, why? Because you're strong when you start, and once you hit shore, you're done. And that is the biggest false advertisement ever, and that's because they have a smiley face for their fucking mascot. If you walk into a Walmart, none of those fuckers are smiling. They hate it. There's something about working at Walmart that makes you just want to walk through the aisles and go, beat your child! I hate Walmart children with fiery passion. I'm sure I can cut a couple of little fuckers. Especially those one on the little Heelys. I used to love watching them come by and just be like, oh, he tripped! Oh my god! It is part of the show that is all about me, as it should be. This is America. So, earlier today, I was watching The Price is Right. I feel like I'm a little bit, I don't know. Anyway, so The Price is Right. I watched this and I noticed there's like 3 different kinds of contestants that go on there. There's the young college people, like most of us. There's the middle-aged group. and then there's the classy people that love to wear leggings as pants. Oh, on national television, no less. No, I swear, today I watched it and there was this woman who was wearing leggings as pants, not a small woman either. Oh, you could see everything. Right before commercial break, whenever she was flipping out and being like, oh, Drew, I love you. She turns around, big ol' hole right there. Needless to say, I died. So, and then there's those sweet little old people, the little ones that look like they're on death's door. And I always get so pissed off because it seems like they wait their entire life to get up to contestants row, and they start bidding, and then some douchey college kid bids $1 more and gets it. And you know that person is not going to live long enough to get back on the show. Depressing, but true. Shut up, Nebraska. The state doesn't exist. I refuse to acknowledge it. It's true. It was added by default. I refuse to accept the fact that Nebraska is a state. Nebraska doesn't exist. Iowa is the fart of America because it smells. And then there's Utah. Utah is the appendix of America because it's freaking useless. Okay, so let me tell you about my trip to Vegas that I just took. All right, it started out well. We got in the car. We started driving through Kansas. And got through Kansas finally. Oh, you know what's really fun? Having a person in the car that every time they fart, it smells like 1,000 dead children. Right then. But what's even more fun, holding your breath and turning on the window locks and pissing everybody else off. I did that a couple times. It was a lot of fun. But we got down through there, drove down to Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. Then we went through New Mexico. Nothing to see. It's not as bad as Utah, but still, it's pretty far up there. And so we get almost all the way through New Mexico, and we're in the desert, and it starts snowing. What? So the bad thing is, nobody down there knows how to drive in snow. There is nothing that will give you road rage more at 1 a.m. than people that don't know how to drive through snow. I was driving like 55 down the road, passing all of them. They were going like 30, and they would flip me off and then go off into the ditch. It was pathetic. And so we get to Utah. We finally stop because of the snow, and then we get up the next day after staying at Motel 6, classy establishment there. Oh, it's like the Ritz. The Ritz had rats. And then we went through Arizona, not much better, still more sand and shit. And then we hit Las Vegas. We finally got to Las Vegas, Sin City, yes, boobs, sweat, casinos, all that amazing stuff. And so we have our fun week in Vegas. We like to play this game called Who's a Stripper? We walk down the strip, And we would say, oh, they're a stripper because they look like one. They have the tight clothes, the hooker heels, the big ass hair. Mick here at one point was like, oh, she's a stripper. And we're like, how'd you know? He's like, oh, she smells like a stripper. Which raises the question, what do Las Vegas strippers smell like? Is it sex and hot oil? Cream corn? I don't know. So like that, we went and donated our money to the casino. It was a lot of fun. We did play we did the hit it and quit it method. Well, I tried to do that. It didn't really work. I quit it after I lost. Finally, got away from Cowboy Tom and had to stay the night in Utah. And then the next day, my parents came in and they helped us. We drove a little bit further. We were finally on our way home. We were almost out of Utah, and we get into Colorado, and I want to cry because there's more freaking rocks. Only this time they're the Brokeback Mountain kind of rocks. And so we keep driving by all these rocks, and Katie, right here, decides to be a smartass. It's like, oh, Derek, each rock has its own story. I'm like, well, what's that one saying? An Indian got raped on me 100 years ago? Cowboy Tom killed a college student there? So, horrible trip to Utah. Don't go there. Okay. So there's other things that I hate in this world, just like Utah, like going to the doctor. I hate going to the doctor because, one, they tell you to get on the scale, and nothing turns me into like a 10-year-old kid more than them telling me to get on the scale. I'm like, no, you're fat. And it never fails. Every time you go to the doctor, they decide to tell you, oh, you're a little bit overweight. Oh, no shit. And they do that little stomach pat, and I'm like, don't touch me! Shove your hand up your ass if you do it again! It just pisses me off, and I don't want to get old, because I just know that ever-looming prostate exam is coming. You probably know this. I'm sure it's got to be horrible. I don't even want to think about it. Another thing I hate is going to the dentist. They fucking talk to you while you're sitting there with a needle in your mouth. Oh, where do you go to college at? And somehow they understand it. That's what I can't get. They know, oh, you went to Northwest. I didn't even speak. It's like we're mind readers.